All right, let's talk about Mazi Smith. I'm just going to be honest. He had a rough day out there for Dallas. I decided to make this video before I had, seen anything about his performance. I checked out his PFF grade, as I like to do, just to get a baseline for how he played, and I was stunned at how low it was. I thought, surely a grade in the 30s, that can't be right. Surely couldn't have been that bad. Honestly, might have been a little generous. Let's talk about, he just had a tough day. Like, there's no getting around it. He had a tough day. Let's talk about the performance, and then let's talk about what it means, and is it a big deal, or is it just, whatever, one preseason game. So, first, let's start off with this play. It's going to be a center one-on-one blocking Mazi Smith here. So, right off the bat, worth mentioning, a mismatch in Smith's favor because, a one-on-one block against a center has to take a little bit longer to get their hands exactly where they want to, so it should be a benefit towards Smith to be able to win this matchup in the running game. Watch how when this play begins, though. Look, I paused it right here. Look at that block right there. Smith is completely now moved towards the top of the screen. The run is going in between the center and right tackle right here as the right guard moves up to the second level. And Smith just is getting cleared out of the way, essentially. There is now an easy running lane. Yeah, you could say the same thing about the edge rusher as well, but that's a little bit more difficult for him. He has to make sure he doesn't give up containment. I don't think he's doing a terrible job on this play necessarily, but Smith, he should be doing a much better job at disrupting this play, and he's not just not disrupting it, he's actively just not helping at all. As you see, it's an easy running lane to get through. There was no way that wasn't going to be gotten through, and it results in a huge gain. Now, one block does not make a great running play, right? A lot of guys need to make their blocks. A lot of guys need to fail to disrupt things for the run defense, and that's what happened on this play. Can't put the entire big run on Smith, but that was not a great play. And to be honest, there was a good chunk of him just not looking great out there. Something like this is another one where this is a double team, so it's a tough play, right? For sure, you're getting double teamed. It's understandable to get knocked out of the way a little bit on the double team. That's not what I'm going to be talking about here. So it's the center and the right guard who are going to be double teaming Smith, and it's worth mentioning this is the goal line situation. Smith is actually standing on the goal line right here. So again, tough play. Watch when this play begins. You're going to see that right off the bat, again, a full-on double team. They both have the block that they want, although I should mention that at this point, the center is moving off the double team to get up to the next level to block a defensive back who's trying to rush in. So that's how this is working. It's really kind of the guard in admittedly a good position trying to push Smith out of the way. The best run-stuffing interior defensive linemen don't get moved out of the way at all, or they don't get moved out of the way very much. I think your average defensive lineman, though, you're expecting them to get moved out of the way to some degree. But watch Smith just get, easily taken way out of the way. He eventually goes off screen right there, but he was way over from when he started. Again, he started pretty well to the left, a few yards to the left of the hash marks, ends up being several yards to the right of the hash marks on that play. He just got moved out of the way pretty significantly, which for a guy who kind of his strength is his run stuffing ability, it's going to take him some time. And I'm just going to say this right now. I'm not going to wait till the end of the video. It often takes time for these types of players to develop. You're used to being able to use your size to dominate, and now all of a sudden you're going up against guys who are just as big and strong as you. It makes sense for there to be a learning curve, but yeah, there's some learning he has to do. Like this one's another one where it's going to eventually be a one-on-one block with the right tackle. He's going to be the one who's going to eventually block Smith. Watch as this play begins. I have to say, Smith, I don't know if he knows he has hands, it feels like, on some of these plays. He kind of just lets the offensive linemen put their hands on, him wherever they want and just hopes that he can use his power to get through, which, again, it worked in college. So I understand why he maybe has this, flaw in his game right now, but it is something he's going to have to figure out. Because, again, watch how that offensive lineman just pushes Smith out of the way. Smith eventually runs over and kind of falls on the already tackled halfback. But as a whole, again, this was a very good block, but also a poor play by Mazi Smith. And these are the kind of things that, we saw a decent sample size of him. He wasn't just out there for a couple of snaps. And, we did get to see at least a little bit of a sample size. In fact, might be as many snaps as he's getting in the regular season games, certainly if he doesn't pick up his play here towards the end of the preseason. or at least maybe show something in practice. He could, be looking at just a rotational role to start out in his first year, which might be what Dallas has to do. Like this one's another one where I've highlighted where he is on the screen. I got rid of the guy who was blocking him in my graphic just because it got a little clunky, but it's the right guard who's going to be stepping up and blocking him. And again, watch what happens. As you see, he steps up and he's going to just easily move Mazi Smith out of the way. It was really kind of shocking because Mazi Smith was someone who I liked a lot coming out of college. But plays like this, he's just getting completely moved out of the way. This isn't him, losing the matchup, right? Because, for a PFF grade, for example, a lot of times it's like consistency. How often are you winning? How often are you losing? And so I kind of assumed, okay, probably going to be one of those situations where he just didn't have that much of a positive impact on the game, and that's why he had the low grade. But no, it was him legitimately having negative impacts on these plays, which is obviously just a bummer because I was a big fan of him coming out of college, and it is only one preseason game, but these plays are concerning. So what does this all mean? If you take my word for it, or if you watch the film and agree that Mazi Smith had a rough game, what does it mean? What do we take away from that? Well, for one, I think it's fair to say bigger defensive linemen do sometimes struggle when they get to the NFL. This is a thing that happens all the time. Quite frankly, that guy will come in, struggle, but then eventually start to get better and better. So it is obviously not a death sentence. I think anyone who thinks it's a death sentence, obviously, I'm not sure if that person exists. I think everyone agrees one preseason game is not going to be. It's nothing that's going to make you say, yeah, he can't play in the NFL. It is concerning, though. I think that's fair to say. I don't think it's insane to have a takeaway from a preseason game where he looked rough out there. At the end of the day, if anything, he's going to go up against tougher competition once he gets to regular season. So it does make me wonder a little bit of, is he just someone who's a little bit raw as a prospect and needs to get some playing time? And part of what makes the draft evaluation so difficult is a lot of times the players you're evaluating are not as good as, they're not good enough to be in the NFL right away. And you're expecting them to get better once they get to the NFL. And a lot of guys do, but not every player does, or not every player does right away, right? You're a prospect for a reason. You're not a superstar just yet. And I think for Dallas, it does create just an interesting conundrum of what do you do with Mazi Smith? Because if he's not good enough to play right now, you're trying to win a Super Bowl this year. That's their goal. Whether you agree with that being a realistic goal or not, that's what they're trying to do. And if you're trying to be competitive, you can't put someone who's not great right now out there hopeful that it will help their development, but it could really hurt his development if he doesn't get a play, which is just an interesting decision. And so definitely I would have him play a lot of the third preseason game, try to get as much sample size of him as I can. That's how I view it. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts on Mazi Smith and his performance? Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.